In today's video, we're going to talk about credit repair, and I'm going to start off raising my hand. This video is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'm going to tell you about a huge mistake that I made when I was going through my credit repair process. And if you know my story, back in from 1994 to 1999, my wife and I were over 300 grand in debt, and it took us that long to repair our credit and get out of debt. We used debt settlement, gave stuff back, all types of stuff. We were fortunate to not have to file bankruptcy, but it took us that long. So it could be a process, and we were in it to win it. That's the way that people say it. We were in it to win it, and once we got started, it was no turning back. But I did make a mistake, and I'm going to admit to it. And I want to admit to it because I don't want you to make this mistake. And it's about the way that we see ourselves. I'm in a fortunate position. I went through the process of repairing my credit, getting out of debt. I know the ups and downs, the feelings. I know how you can feel overwhelmed, anxious, nervous, powerless. I went through all of those feelings. And I know how it can feel to where you work hard at something and then you just kind of ease off and you're like, okay, I'm to a certain point, and you just kind of let your foot off the pedal. And I'm here to tell you, don't do that, because I made a mistake. When I came home, it was in 2004, and I came home, and my wife and three daughters were looking at me. And we were renting this new build house. And yes, we were looking to buy our own home, but the owner of that built that house, and we were the only people that had rented it from him. Like 3 or 4 months later, he said, I'm selling the house. And when I walked in the door that day, my wife and three daughters looked me in the face and said, we got to buy this house. And I made a mistake on something. After working all of those years of getting my credit in the right position, I had made a mistake on something. There was one collection on my credit reports that it was little. It wasn't that much. It was probably about $400 or $500. But I was like, I done already went over the hill. I done went over the mountain. And I just got this one little thing, and I took my foot off the pedal. And then that day came, and when my wife and three daughters said, we want to buy that house. See, they said that with conviction, because we all as a family knew what we had went through from 1994 to 1999. All of the changes, the spending, we talked about it with our children, all of that stuff. And here I am, the leader of the household, and I have one thing on my credit, because my family, they trust me. They trust me. You know, so if I say that we're good, we're good. It's like good as gold. And I knew at that time when they said that I had that one collection on there. I had made the mistake of letting my foot get off the pedal. It just, to let you know, everything did work out. We ended up buying the house. There was no problems. We stayed in that house for almost, we stayed in that house, bought it in 2004. All the way till 2021. So we stayed in that house almost 20 years. We stayed in that house almost 20 years. And so don't make that mistake, because you don't know when you're going to need to use your credit. The time is now. Like, people will ask me, they will be like, when is a good time to work on my credit? Now. When is now a good time to work on your credit? Now. Now is the time to work on your credit. Time is going to pass regardless if you're working on it or not. And if your credit is not where you need it to be, you need to work on your credit, because it opens up so many doors. It opens up so many doors. It just does. It opens up so many doors. So if you're dealing with bad credit, you're struggling with bad credit, you got too much debt, you got mountains of debt, debt collectors are calling, all of this stuff is just coming down on you, and you just want to get your life right back. You want to get it back to normal. You want certainty. You want financial security. You want things to be all right. You don't want no surprises in your life. You want the confidence. You want to be valued. You want all of that stuff. And you might even try to do things to repair your credit, increase your scores, get out of debt. But you seem to be falling right back into the same traps, or you seem to where you're not getting anywhere. And so before I get into what you need to do, the 3 steps that you need to do to start working on your credit, to start, like, you take the baby steps, like Dave Ramsey talked about, the baby steps, is I want to mention this book. I just did a video, and you can go, I don't know why it's not showing right. There we go. The new Psycho-Cybernetics. I mentioned this. I have a channel also on YouTube called Making Money with Stephen A. Williams, and it's not about business opportunity. It's about the consulting that I do with business owners, and I had talked about this book in that video. And in that book, what Matthew Maltz talks about, and he talks about Jewish people in the concentration camps. He talks about people who lost weight and they don't see themselves as losing the weight. They still see themselves as they were before. This is the same type of mental identity that I had at that point. Even though I had worked very hard, something inside of me made me stop. And I attribute that to not seeing myself fully with 100% excellent credit. Like something was still drawing me back to the way that, not to go back with bad credit, but it wasn't allowing me to move forward, to see like a completion, to be like, you are a person with excellent credit, not a person with so-so credit. You need to go ahead and be fully the person with excellent credit. To be fully with the person with excellent credit, you can't have something unresolved on your credit. So I was lying to myself at that point because I did not follow through. And so something inside of me was still saying, Steve, you get yourself to a level of comfort, but you don't see yourself as having excellent credit. And so what I had to do, and what I encourage you to do, is to understand, if you're going to have excellent credit, you're going to have to start seeing yourself first with excellent credit. You have to, because when you see yourself with excellent credit, you won't make the mistake that I made by letting something little stay on your credit. I see this a lot with some people. They'll come and they say, I'm trying to get a house. And I'm like, did you go to get a pre-approval? And they said, yes. They said, if I take care of these 3 things, I can get the house. And some of the times I have to lower my voice, because that's similar to what I went through. It was like, do it. Get to work on, if you want us to help you do it, don't ask any questions. You just say, this is what needs to be done, and we're going to do it for you. Or you do it for yourself. See, this is one of those things where there's no gray areas. You either do it or you don't do it. And that's what I caught myself back then. And I don't do that stuff now with my credit. I don't do that with debt. I decide, because of what I know I picture myself to be, as a person who manages debt, don't overextend, a person who doesn't overextend their credit, and a person with excellent credit, because you never know what you might need to use your credit for. And before I get into it with the 3 things for repairing your credit, another story that came to my mind was when my daughter was in performing arts school, where she was going to be away from home, and she had to be, get the housing and all of that stuff. And me and my wife went to the school, to the performing arts school, and the dorms that they had, we were like, we just don't feel that this is a safe place for our 18-year-old daughter. She's first time away from home. It does not look secure. And we went and got a condo for her in a gated community, and they said, okay, it's $1,500 a month, and it was like $1,500 deposit. We said, okay, we'll just pay for the whole year and put the deposit down. And they said, okay, that's fine. We still want to check your credit. We still want to check your credit, even though we were going to pay the whole year. The whole year. She was going to be there a whole year. And we were like, okay, check my credit. Just think. See, think of the disappointment. See, it's about avoiding things. Having your credit taken care of, having your debt under control, having these debt collectors not on your back, like dealing with this stuff right now so you can resolve it now, will avoid pain later, will avoid frustration later, will avoid disappointment for either you or your family later. I'm trying to not have you make the same accidental decision that I made that I was able to work my way through, but maybe your situation is worse. And you need to be there for your family. You need to be there for yourself, and don't put yourself in that situation. The way to do that is to take advantage of the time right now. So now let's get into it. When you go start, the credit repair process starts like this. You make the decision. You make the internal decision that you're not going to live with bad credit anymore. And living with bad credit is a decision. If you decide not to do nothing, see, sometimes people, they'll say, I'm not going to work on my credit right now. That's a decision. That's a decision that it's like a tree. I'm not going to work on my credit. That's the seed that you're planting for all of the other stuff that we just talked about, that I just said to happen. That's going to be the branches of that tree. If you decide to work on your credit, the branches could look the other way. But I understand why people don't want to make that decision. They don't want to make that decision because it's not certain. It's not guaranteed in a way that you feel it has to be guaranteed. And what we understand in life is that there's no guarantees, but if work is applied towards the goal, you will get to that goal some way, somehow. It might look a little bit different. So just because it might look a little bit different, just because it might feel a little bit different, just because it does not have the full certainty, does not mean that you should not move forward with repairing your credit and getting out of debt. But I can tell you this, what is certain, if you don't do nothing, you will certainly move back into that comfortable position of having bad credit and dealing with all of the extenuating circumstances of having bad credit. That, you know what that looks like, you know what that feels like, and that's a comfort level for some people because you don't have to use any brain power, any trust, you don't have to use any willpower, nothing if you don't move forward. You just get to be in that comfort zone, but that comfort zone is not a good place to be. Having bad credit, low credit score, you're losing money every day that you're in that situation. You are already, people say, I don't want to spend money to repair my credit. You're spending money every day when you have bad credit. All you have to do, you don't have to take my word for it. All you have to do is look at your credit card statements. What interest rates are you being charged? I have a city card, and I will get my statement and let you see. If I wanted to allow the balances to go over, they're only charging me 6.7%. 6.7% on a credit card. Look at your credit cards if you have one, and have you ever seen anyone give you 6.7%? Have you ever, that's just one example. Now, throw that on top of if you got an auto loan, if you got a mortgage, if you need a personal loan for whatever reason. The money that you would save. So now let's get into it. Let's get into it. The first thing that you need to do, and this is something that some people have a problem doing because they don't want to see how bad their situation is. The first thing you need to do is you need to get a copy of your credit reports and scores. You need to know where you are starting so you can know what needs to be done to get you to the next step. But the first thing is that you need to just look at it. You need to look at it for what it is. You need all of the information, not just a little piece of it. Not just a little sliver where, one of the report places, they give you a free report and they give you a little bit. You know your scores, some of it. Let me ask you this question. If you're going to repair your credit, do you want to know a little bit about what's going on, or do you want to know all of what's going on? So you need to get all 3 credit reports, all 3 scores. And then the next step is that you need to do an evaluation of every item, negative and positive, on your credit reports. Because there could be something that is a positive account that is hurting you with your credit. One good example is if you're overusing your credit cards. Your credit cards need to be at about a 30% balance on the statement date. So on your credit reports, you will see, or on your credit card bill, you will see a closing date. On that closing date, you need to make sure that your balances are reported under 30%. Because if it's reported over, you're going to see that your credit scores are hurt. Now, I'm not one of the people that's out here to be a credit score chaser. But if you care about having your score at a certain level because of you want to use it for something in the future, that is one of the things that you need to pay attention to. Now, the other stuff that you need to look at is all of the negative stuff that is impacting you on your credit reports. You need to look at the collections. You need to look at the late payments. You need to look at if you have too many inquiries. You need to look if you have medical bills. You need to look at if you have bankruptcies. You need to look at if your information is being reported with your personal data inaccurately, if there's stuff with your personal data that is out of date. All of that stuff is very important. You need to do a detailed evaluation of all of that stuff. And then the next step is you need to put together a plan of action to go after tackling that information. If it's going to be with debt collectors and doing debt validations to make sure that they got all the appropriate information to be able to put that on your credit reports, that's number one. If it's with original creditors who have charged off your account and they haven't sold that account to someone, contact them to see what type of resolution is available with that. If it's an original creditor who has charged off your account and sold it to a debt collection company, dealing with that original creditor to have that account changed over to paid, or paid for less, or to just remove it because they sold that account. It's inaccurately reporting. If you have medical bills and they're showing your medical procedures with the way that the bill was presented by the debt collection company or the medical provider, and it's stating that on your credit reports, that is a violation of HIPAA. They cannot disclose the procedures that you had with any medical facility. So if you have something that says gastric test kit or gastric, whatever it is, they even a broken arm, the broken arm fix doctor, whatever, people name their clinics and stuff off of what they do. They cannot send you that bill and give it to an unauthorized third party without your information, because they're disclosing your private medical information by disclosing the procedures that you had. Now, if they just got the hospital and a bill, that's one thing, but still you have a right to make sure that the billing was done right, no errors, that it wasn't with an outside service and it should have been paid by insurance, whatever. There's steps that you take with that, but the biggest one is just that they can't be on your credit reports. Number one, if it's $500 or less, it can't even be on your credit reports after the update that President Biden made. And if it's over that amount, if it's showing any procedures, then it's going to be off your reports. And you need to do this back and forth. Everything that you do needs to be done with the furnishers, not just with the credit reporting agencies. If you do it just with the credit reporting agencies and it comes off because of a technicality, it could be put back on there. With our service, we do it with both, because you don't want that information to come back on there. You want to be done with it so you can move forward and start rebuilding your credit. You want to get this stuff resolved. Step number 3 is that you have to take massive action. You have to stay on top of this. It could take some time. You got to be patient, and the reason why you got to be patient is because it's going to go into the hands of a third party, which is the bureaus and the furnishers. Furnishers will usually give you an answer within 2 to 3 weeks, coming in from other people that they've either bought accounts from, or if it's the original creditor, just if they have a department that really handles that. Some of these original creditors don't truly have a department that handles it. They just put it on someone's desk and they handle it. With the bureaus, 30 to 45 days. And one of the catch-22s with the bureaus is that it has to make it to a real review. If you ever do a submission to the bureaus and you get something back that just says that it was verified and all of that stuff, and even if it's an account or information that you know is inaccurately showing, but it comes back verified, that just means that it did not really go through an investigation process. That is one of the frustrations that people go through, and that's why I say the time is now to start working on your credit, because some of this stuff is going to frustrate you, and that's because we also have to give them time to do their investigations. There is no other way around it. Just think, if someone was asking you something and you know where you need to prepare something, and you got your life, you're running your business or you're doing certain things, you'll be like, I'm going to get to it, and just think, stack on top of that millions of documents, and then you can see their side of what they're going through with getting to your disputes. But the number one thing, and I said this earlier, is that if you get started on it, you get the process going, no matter what, with the hard work, with the persistency, you're going to get to your ultimate goal. You will get to your ultimate goal. It might look a little bit different than what you thought it would be, but you will get to that ultimate goal. And then you got to remember, just like I talked about with psycho-cybernetics, is that you could actually be getting somewhere, and because you have that mindset of someone who is used to having bad credit, you won't even see the successes as it comes to you. There's going to be small successes at the beginning. You know, people sometimes think it has to be all or nothing, and in their own lives, it's not all or nothing. But they put this weight on their shoulders to where they think it has to be all or nothing. And I think that comes from the fast food generation, where we think we just walk up, buy something, and it's supposed to change our life right away. No, the things that mean the most to us is going to take work to accomplish those. For your job, you had to either go to school, you had to go to college, trade school, something, and that took time. You didn't do that overnight. And graduating from grade school took 12 years. You know, so things will take time, and all you have to do is allow time to be placed upon you getting your credit repaired, and in no time it will feel like, I promise this to you, because when I was going through it, I mean, look, it's 2024, and I was talking about where it took us 5 years, 1994 to 1999. And that's 5 years. But guess what? Those 5 years were going to pass. What if I would have just kept waiting and like, we're not going to try to do it. We're not going to try to do it. We're not going to try to do it. The time was still going to pass. So what did we do? At that time, we made the best of that time that we had available. And that's what you need to do right now. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you early in the game, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations letter, cease and desist, collection activities letter, and debt validation letter. I do ask for a donation on those. It helps me monetize my time here on YouTube. But those three letters can save you time, money, and frustration. They're very well worth it. Thank you for your time. Post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the Credit Repair